And so we've come up with what we think is a great hybrid. And Amy's here, is going to answer 20 questions, as we always have someone do it. Sometimes it squeezes 21 or 22, and sometimes time only allows us for 18, but it's going to feel like 20 questions, I promise. And Amy's an old hat at this. She's a good interviewee. I've seen lots and lots of things she's done online. So it's wonderful to have her. It's an honor to have her as Vice President of Growth for eXp. We're going to find out a lot about her today, and she's going to unveil herself to all of us to talk about why her background is suited for what she does for each and every one of us. But we're honored to have all of our agents here. If there's guests listening and guests looking for the first time, we're honored that you would spend a few minutes with us just to see behind the curtain what eXp really is all about. You know, our growth has been meteoric, unequaled. No one's ever done in this industry or almost any other industry what eXp has done, and we continue to add about 1,000 agents a week. I just talked to Jason Guessing last week. I guess we had 3,900 agents in November or something like that. So we're continuing to be the company that every agent becomes more and more aware of, and those that are open-minded to look, they end up coming. And part of the project that Glenn Sanford and Jason Guessing had to do is to develop an infrastructure to allow us as agents to get out of the way when we were talking to people that were above our pay grade, more knowledgeable than us, more experienced than us. And what Glenn did is develop a team of experts, professionals, experienced people that know how to talk to people from where they come. So Amy's part of that team. She'll explain a little bit more about that in a little while. But Amy, how are you this morning?
I'm fabulous. I am all prepared for Christmas. We've got all our decorations up, and it's warm and cozy in the house, and all is well.
And you, for people that don't know, live in what area of the country?
I live in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Beautiful area. Beautiful. We're going to find out again a whole lot more about that, but I know Charlotte has some beautiful early winter phases, so enjoy that through the holidays. And again, we appreciate your time. We know how busy you are, and separating for close to an hour with us is something that we appreciate, because we know it's something that you can't do other things on your list. You can't be checking the list if you're with us, but we appreciate the fact that you'll spend the time with us. We promise it will be valuable not only to us, but also to eXp as well. So questions, let's see, 20 questions with Amy Weaver. Let's start with the first one. Where did you grow up, and what was your early life like?
So I don't tell many people where I grew up. However, you can hear it in my accent. So whenever I have calls, it was funny, I had a call with a team or an independent brokerage the other day, and I was a little late to the call because I had a hard time wrapping up my prior call. And when I came on apologizing, they were all like this, and they were like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "North Carolina." So I actually am a native of North Carolina, and I grew up in a small town. It's called Smithfield, and it's about 25 miles outside of Raleigh. So I spent a lot of time in Raleigh. Smithfield is a very small town, and if you think my accent is thick, you should hear theirs. So I've been Charlotte is a melting pot, and hardly anyone from Charlotte is actually a North Carolina native. So even here in my own hometown, they always ask me, like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "North Carolina." So right here. And so that's where I grew up.
It's a beautiful area. I went to Georgia Tech and thought I went into the South, and then I had to give a speech at UNC Chapel Hill, and I was deeper in the South. But what was it like growing up in that early life, in that smaller town? What was exciting to you at that point?
I mean, I didn't know any differently. So I just, I grew up. So this is like, I didn't even realize the conversation was going to go in this direction. But I was very much a blue collar family, and we called people with money, or I didn't. My family called people big wheels. And so my friends were always the big wheels. But I was in their classes, and we connected. I would go over to the more I guess, prestigious homes and hang out with, and that's where my friend group was. And I was like, I don't know why you guys are so down on these people. They're amazing. And so I had a different mindset from the beginning of, where I was, and I surrounded myself, not necessarily like, it just was where I fit. So that's kind of how I was a little bit different than the rest of my family. Even my brother, who I adore and love, like he had that same mindset. Well, I can't believe you're hanging out with them. Like, don't they think they're too good for you? And I was like, no, like I fit right in there. And actually they love and appreciate me. So that's kind of like the mindset of like the small town. And it's kind of funny, like thinking back on that. And I haven't thought about that for a really long time, to see where I've come in the short amount of time. So yeah. Small town life, like different kinds of thinking, but I did love it. Like I rode in the back of pickup trucks. I would, my fun was walking to gas stations, and I think I used to drink Mellow Yellow. I wouldn't even dream of doing that now. And I was barefoot, and I would play marbles with my brother, and we'd play backyard baseball. But it was literally like what all of us think of and as nostalgic is just staying outside all day and then coming in when it's time for dinner and going right back out. So it was like a neighborhood full of kids that were, so I think in that way I was blessed because I got to hang out with all walks of life, because those guys were, kind of on the same level as my family. And I wouldn't say we were in poverty, but it was definitely a paycheck to paycheck. And it was like, we didn't have an abundance. So yeah,
No,
it was
thanks for
fun. I
giving
wouldn't
us.
change a thing.
No, well, you learned a lot of good things, and it sure sounds like the kind of place that people would like to come from. It's that feeling, it's that home, it's that apple pie that everybody talks about in America. Now, question number 2 is right down that alley. You were 10 years old at some point. When you were 10 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A pediatrician. I wanted to be a pediatrician. I always was very drawn to the health field. And now looking back, I wasn't exposed to, sometimes I look at careers, I was like, who even know that was a career? It was either, very basic stuff. So I wanted to be a pediatrician, and that was really my goal. And I don't know why, because that sounds terrible to me right now, but that was my goal growing up, is to be a pediatrician.
Well, I'm sure we could use another good pediatrician in the world, but we sure appreciate doing what you do for eXp and all of us. So we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
How did you first connect with real estate?
So, as far as connecting with real estate, I've always loved homes, probably from the big wheels that I used to go visit their homes, and I was in awe of their homes versus mine. But just loving homes in general. And I used to go on home tours. I thought that was super fun for entertainment. It wasn't like it was for my own personal, right? So when my kids were, I'm a physical therapist, by the way, so I did gravitate towards my affinity for the health field. I graduated from that, and I was a pediatric physical therapist. So, and then that graduated into me being a geriatric physical therapist. So it's kind of similar though. It's funny because you're like, you work with the babies and then you work with the old guys, and it's very similar. These guys are working on balance and walking and, feeding skills, and they're still in diapers, and we've got the same thing over here. So it's like it was fun, the parallels between that. So I forgot about where I'm going with this. Oh, so when once I had kids, I started to, and we moved to the Charlotte area then, when my first child was like, he was 1. And I decided to stay home as a mom because there was just so many changes. And I decided to stay home with him. So I was a stay-at-home mom. And, I probably painted every room in my house. I redecorated. Like, I've always been into home stuff. I actually went to a way to learn like painting methods and refinishing cabinets. So I was just doing all the things. And so I ended up having all these little side jobs. So always loved it. But when my kids started going, both were in school, my husband said, you should do real estate because I'm busy. I have a lot of energy. I'm very big with goals and getting stuff done. And he said, she go to school to be a realtor. And I was like, yeah, whatever. He looked it up. And I will say I'm a little bit more of a him and a holler, like as far as like, yeah, that sounds good sometimes. And so I was like, I don't know. And next thing I knew, he had signed me up for real estate school 2013. And by May of that year, had my license. And so that's kind of how that happened. It was pretty spontaneous as far as getting my license and just seeing, I thought it was going to be a hobby for me. It was meant to be a hobby. I was supposed to just, when business came to me with family or friends, and I would just take it. And it was nothing like I thought. So it wasn't HGTV, it wasn't home tours and all that. It was very different. So, but yeah, I love it. I'm so glad that happened that way. My husband doesn't remember the story that way, but I remember it very well. And he stuck me in real estate school, and here I am.
And we're happy he did. Now, we know that you're at eXp today, but there was a time from 2013 till somewhere between today that you weren't. So can you give us some early life real estate experience, some things that you accomplished throughout the last few years before you came here?
Yeah. So again, it was 2013, and I got my license, and it was planning for that to be a hobby. We had some financial challenges. My husband has traveled for his job for years and years and years. Like since we moved to Charlotte, he was all over the country, and actually internationally. He was in Sweden a lot, and England, and just all over the place. So that's really the reason I needed to kind of stay home, is for some stability. Well, quickly after I became a realtor, my husband started to have some job challenges, and his job that he had became eliminated and was given to regional managers in lieu of like the national managers. So we had two really big, like, in the and we lived up to our means. We had a great big house, and we had nice cars, and we had all the things. And suddenly we were without any income. And the second job loss that he had was definitely more painful, because for the first job loss, we had piled up the credit cards. The second job loss, but we had savings, right? We had savings we pulled from, and it's funny how much savings you need to make a household run. I'm sure you guys all know that. And so it was like going through the money. And so, the second job loss is right when I started in real estate. So what I had planned to be a hobby suddenly had to become a career for me. And I just decided to take the bull by the horns and make it work. And I still was very intentional about picking my kids up off the school bus at 2:30. So from 9 to 2, I was boots on the ground. I was working, trying to build something. So with that being said, I started out as a single agent. I have no idea I should know this. I'll probably try to forget, but I have no idea like how much real estate I sold that year. It was just like whatever came, I was grateful for. And then 2014, I probably did about 6 million, and then it just kind of increased from there. I ended up building a small team. And in the meantime, my team leader at the brokerage I was with just started asking me to go talk at real estate schools. And what happened was he wanted me to tell my story, because, right, I came from, being a household of not knowing if we were going to be able to go bankrupt, for it being a hobby, to like, oh, this is a career, and really having some pretty good success with it as being, kind of a part-time agent that was also a mom, and then dealing with all the things that happen when you're financially unstable. There's like all the emotions that you have to deal with and all that. So anyway, it was a challenge. So, but I was willing to take on the challenge, and wasn't really a question. Like I knew that it was going to have to be me leading, and I was okay with that. So in that time, he was like, go share your story with these guys. You need to give them some hope. And I was like, I don't want to share that story. Like that's the worst story in the world. And what I noticed though, when I would start to tell it, is everyone had been in a similar position, and they identified with the story, and it did give them hope. And they wanted to talk to me more. And so there was like so suddenly I was like the number one agent attractor in my market center. And I was tapped then, after I built my team of about 5, to be the assistant team leader. And I just kept doing what I was good at. And then I got the team leader role. And then suddenly I was a team leader of I got tapped from a different market center in the Charlotte area, Fort Mill, right outside of Charlotte, in South Carolina, and grew that market center to over 500. And so, yeah, it was a fun time, and I came a long way. And that when I think about the journey there, you're like, wow, it's hard to believe just 10 years ago I was there and this is where I am now. So that was me.
Wow. Well, growth, and goal orientation is what I continue to hear. Vision was there. You weren't afraid to work. You did what realtors do. If you're not afraid to work and you're not afraid to learn and you're not afraid to goal set, then you're going to succeed. It's an industry that is allowing people to do the right things if you do the right things. And it sounds like you have. I know at some point you then connected with eXp. What was that like? How was that connection made?
So that happened. I hated eXp, despised them. So I don't know if all of you did at one point, but everything I was building, I had to keep defending to agents that were seeing the opportunity at eXp. And of course, I had tainted information from where I was. And so I had a very different perception of eXp than what was reality. And so my assistant team leader, while I was at the 500 agent market center, she decided to blast out a video that I did to, it was like, Caldwell Banker and all the eXp agents in North Carolina. And I was like, oh, great. I was like, now I'm going to have reverse recruiting and they're all going to be after me. And so sure enough, that did happen. And then one guy in particular, he's like, I would really like to meet with you. And so I started looking him up. It was Rich Tomasini. I'd heard his name before. I knew he was pretty big at eXp. And so I was like, so I went to meet him and I told the assistant team leader, I'm like, just so you know, we're not getting Rich Tomasini here. I'm like, it's not going to happen. So he's going to try to reverse recruit me, but I want to hear what he has to say. Like, I want to hear why everyone is so intrigued with eXp, because I can't tell you how many people I actually did talk out of going to eXp that came to bite me later when I good, and also that I had to see leave to go to eXp. But when Rich sat down with me and showed me the true model and what it was, a light bulb came on, and I was like, wow, like this is everything I love at where I was, KW. You guys have figured that out by now. That's where I was. So KW, but so much better. And he showed me what he's been able to do. And so the only question I had is, because my experience being at KW is I had to wrangle these people to try to get me to help them build their downline. I was like, I just need a card. Did you have a great experience with a cross sell? Something like, give me something, bring people to me. I'm trying to help you here. And it was always me, doing the work. And so I'm constantly doing the work. The agents were just doing their business. Right. And so when I listened to Rich and he showed me what he had been able to do, and he was no longer in production, I looked at him and I'm like, he's like, Amy, I want to retire you in 2 years. And I looked at him and I said, but Rich, I was like, first of all, I didn't believe that was possible. But I was like, Rich, I was like, don't you think you're an anomaly? And he's like, he leaned in and he's like, don't you think you are? And I was like, I was like, that's a good question. And so I was like, heck yeah, I'm an anomaly. And so I saw it, and yet I didn't really know how to grab it. My past history with all the financial stresses, and I had a salary. I had great bonuses, and I had no longer been in production. I didn't have my team anymore. So I wasn't quite sure, because we hadn't really recovered fully from our financial disaster that we had, doing so much better. But, there's a lot of stuff that we had to catch up on. And so I couldn't figure out how to make that jump, because I was like, it's going to take me a while to build this. So I've got no income coming in. And so I had to say, let me sit on it. But in the back of my mind, and this was 2020, so it started 2021 still at KW. And I knew that there was a better opportunity. And Rich came to me, I think in March, and he said, hey, there's a VP position open at eXp. I think you would be phenomenal for it. I think you should go for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's full of crap. And so I was thinking to myself, I was like, really? Like he thinks like this is never going to work. I'm not qualified to be a VP. And I told him that. And he said, Amy, he's like, actually, you've been vetted, like we know your numbers, like we've looked at everything. He's like, you would be perfect. And so I literally just did the resume to check the box and say I did it, because Rich kept saying, hey, did you turn in your resume yet? Just do your resume. And Keely would, did you do your resume? And I was like, oh geez. So I did it just to check. Hadn't done a resume since I was 22. And so I was like, wow. So I did it, and I got a call to come do the interview and with Dave. And Dave didn't look like a president. You guys know that I'm not saying anything that you don't know about Dave, but I think he might have had on like a ball cap and like either a sweatshirt or t-shirt or something. And so I'm having this interview and I'm thinking to myself, like, who is this guy? So obviously I didn't do a lot of homework. I literally, again, was checking the boxes to do what I needed to do, and to just appease Rich and Keely. And I was like, so what's your role in the company? He's like, my role? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm president. And I was like, oh crap. Cause I had just been like, it wouldn't be how I typically interview. There was a KW awards night that night. I had a bun on top of my head. I had no makeup on because I was getting ready. I was talking to him before getting ready for the awards. And so I was pretty raw and everything. And I think that's why he liked me so much. So yeah, so that's my story coming to eXp. I was obviously offered the job as the Eastern Region VP. And from there, now I have the North America title. That's how it all started. So yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Again, it's nice. Dave's awesome at what he does, and finding talent is a strong suit of him. And thanks, Rich, for bringing you here. Let's digress a little bit. You said that when you were at the other brokerage, a reputable brokerage, still strong, still a good company. We all know that. Yeah. But you said you had some misunderstandings, misnomers about eXp. Let's dive into that for just a moment, real quickly. If I said to you, what are the two things you thought you knew that you were completely wrong about?
The model, so profit share is willable the same as eXp is, but you have to, I heard that, if and when you decided to leave eXp, then all that would fall apart, right? Like it's one of those things. You didn't have to unlock levels, and obviously that is true. And my coach would have me talk to other coaches and would talk about how, basically it's all gonna like unravel and fall apart. So that was one thing. And we're gonna get to the one of the other questions I think that you're gonna ask me later, but it was that they're a recruiting company, and that is true, but yet wasn't I at a recruiting company? I was like, all they are just recruiters, and only care about that. Like it's just, there's no production. And so obviously these are the kinds of things I was asking Dave, because the culture was awful. And so that was super important to me from where I came from, to know that the culture was going to be one of like, raising each other up and all the things. So there were just a lot of small little things about the only way you could make money was to be in recruiting, and everybody was only about that. And just it's not that, there obviously is an opportunity there, and that's fine, but that's not all it is. And only 12% of eXp is actually benefiting from revenue share. So obviously there's 88% who are out there, not even thinking about attraction, and they should be, right? They absolutely should be. And I would talk to them and say, hey, be one of those that, when you have a cross sell, or be excited about where you are and the opportunities, and share it. And that's going to be the quickest way to attraction. And so I had to kind of overcome some of those perceived notions that I had about eXp. And I found out that your rev share is willable. You just have to have a license, and that's easy. You've got a year to get it. And so it was just a couple of things where I just had to overcome my jaded thoughts of what had been taught by other KW leaders. So, and it was them thinking in scarcity, right? It's when you're in fear, and then when you're in scarcity, then you're going to make out your competition to be evil. And obviously, that's just human nature. And so yeah, just a couple of things that I had to overcome in my mind is like that KW was the best. It had the best training. Like eXp doesn't have any training. There's nothing there for agents to build their business. It's not about building your business. They don't know how to build business. And so really quickly, I'll say I have never met stronger business-minded people than right here at eXp, and they can think outside of the box and they know how to build super amazing, profitable businesses that are not only in real estate, but in other lanes. And I have been nothing but impressed for people that know their numbers. I used to have to beg for people to know their numbers. They know their numbers, they know their goals, and they are on a mission to get it, and they're wanting to help everyone else come alongside them. So that was definitely a great experience once I got here.
We sure like that soundbite. Thank you so much for that one. Leading to the recruiting question, at one point, Remax was known as the recruiting company, and then KW became the recruiting company. And that's why they're the largest at the present time, with more agents anywhere else here in North America.
Yeah.
But given that, why do you believe so many agents for the last 4.5 years have been coming here and joining us at eXp?
I think it's for the opportunity, right? It's the opportunity to connect with like-minded people that are growth-minded. There are 3 lanes that you can benefit from financially, and really being able to see that. That was another thing, like them saying stock was a joke. But I ended up calling a couple of agents that had left, and one had been with eXp for 2.5 years after leaving KW, and he had $250,000 in stock. And when he said that was going to be a life-changing thing for his family, I was like, I felt that. And I was like, wow, you're really doing the things that you're doing your business the way you would always be doing. And yet you have this opportunity to earn stock, and that compounding effect of that, year over year. I mean, what do you have? You have like certificates of, being number one, or going back to social media and saying, oh, I was number one in the market that month, or I was number one in the region. Like, that is not financially tangible, right? And so it might make you feel good, but I would much rather feel, good about that I'm building something for my family that they're going to reap the rewards from. And so the opportunity in that, in all 3 lanes, and if you're growth minded and you're entrepreneur minded and you are business minded, then that is just going to make sense to you. And so I think that there was an excitement and a buzz, like people were so excited about it. And you just, like what I said, you want to tell everyone. So everyone was like, I know when I came over, everybody was in my inbox saying, oh my gosh, like we thought you were KW forever and ever. What happened? Like, what are they having you guys drink over there? Like, what's going on? So I think, that excitement, and people just want to know what it is. And then when they actually see the full benefits of what eXp offers, they just want to be a part of it.
Well, you can drink everything if you have an open mind. And that's really all we're ever trying to connect with agents to do. We're not asking them to come, we're asking them to look. And if they look, once they see, like you did, you just can't unsee. You are a great ambassador at the level of, you're a great ambassador for real estate as it is, and a testimony from the very beginning of your career. But you're a great ambassador here at eXp, and especially when speaking with broker owners and team leaders, which again is, I think, most of what you do. From outreach, agents like myself will bring to you a broker owner or a team leader, and you'll help speak to them at their level. Like, again, because some of us can't speak to their interest or their needs. Why do you think you connect with them so well?
I think it's listening. As a leader, like I think it's super important to listen to, and this was, as an agent as well, when you're talking to a homeowner or a potential buyer, is really listening to them and what their goals are, doing a pain analysis or a needs analysis, and seeing where the conversation needs to be directed, and really letting them lead the conversation and being able to figure out how to solve a problem for them. And that's really it. It's like you put your ego aside. I really don't have much ego. The ego that I do have is like just me competing with myself. I mean, I always want to show up the best for me internally, knowing that I'm doing the best. And that was always like, whether it was being a a student or a parent or whatever it was. But putting that aside and you make it about the person in front of you. So sometimes it's hard for me to sit right here, on this stage, like you're interviewing. So it's all about me today. But most of the time I'm always making it about the other person because they've done something tremendous, right? That's the reason they're in front of me. So I want to know about them. I want to know who the heart of their, and I ask them like, what direction are you taking this conversation today? Let them lead. And what are the 3 things that we need to accomplish in this call? And when I do that and I listen and I really listen, then they know I care and I'm talking to them about what they want to talk about and they feel good. So that's basically it. Like, that's all.
Well, since you said that when you talk to someone, you let them direct the conversation, take it where they want to go. Let me tell you where I want to go.
Okay.
Where I want to go is, let's talk for a moment about broker owners. You talk to so many of them. Given today's real estate market, which is shifting, as we know, what is it about our platform and why do you feel eXp's offering is something that brokers of record should strongly consider? I mean, they should look at us with an open mind. For what reasons?
I think, even before the shifting market or whatever is happening now, it was hard for them. They have to wear the hats of all the things. They're constantly, HR, even if they've hired people for that, people are going to always go to them. And it's like a constant, like, you're hiring for this, or you have like, you're the, sole responsibility, liability is on you. You've got admin that you have to take care of. You've got agents. They're perpetually on the hamster wheel of coming and going because they see opportunity at eXp. So suddenly retention is an issue. It's not scalable. They can't offer the same technology tools and support that a company as large as ours can. So when they really take their ego out and say, hey, I can really have everything I have now, but put it under the umbrella of eXp and have so much more peace in my life. And I can really focus on what I do best, which might be training or coaching or, just being that person to sit across and have a cup of coffee with and not have like all the other like the tasks that they're burdened with, and let go of that liability and become more profitable, actually, because when you look at what they're making, like, it's not much. And so if they're willing to look at the projections and see the long-term benefit of being with eXp, then it really is a no-brainer. So when I sit down, I'm looking to see where they're paying. And oftentimes we're doing a financial analysis and because they need to see it in black and white, like, what's it look like now? And maybe they might take, a couple of steps backwards to take 5 steps forward. But it's pretty rapid, and and they have to understand it's not just opportunity for them, it's opportunity for every single agent that they have. And those agents have really the same opportunity as they do to grow and to benefit from all 3 lanes of what eXp offers and, building your business and your well, you guys know the things, the stock and the rev share. So when they see that and they really see that, no matter what, I bring these agents over here and I'm going to have, I can stay in my lane of passion and not have to be all the things to all the people. It's just a relief. And you can almost see them like, oh, like it's just, so that's the main thing. Several things.
The steps they go through. First, they're reluctant to talk to any of us. Then they see the information and let's pretend that they go, oh, this is interesting. Can you take me through what you would say the normal course of action for a broker of record that has, whether they have 10 agents or 300 agents, right? Doesn't matter. They go through a process. And if you were designing that process from beginning to onboarding, what are the steps do you think that they need to go through in order to get a good understanding of who we are?
So it's going to start with you guys. So I usually get the agents or the broker owners when they're out about a 6 or 7 for a company. Sometimes they're a little bit further along and they just need to know that the numbers make sense. But you guys are going to ask them, have you ever looked at the financial opportunity for that eXp could provide for you and your agents? And would you be willing to sit down and have a conversation with me about that? And like you said, like, just be open-minded, like, let's see, what that could look like. And and then I'll get someone else in front of you that's been there and done that. And they can tell you their experience. And so obviously we have a lot of examples of that. So that's where I would start. And then, when they get to about a 6 or 7 out of 10, then I would say, we're ready for the next step. I would like to introduce you to the one of the VPs of growth, like whoever that is. And there's a reason there's an Amy and a Sean. So Sean and Amy are very different in personality. And so sometimes you might have a broker owner or a team lead that's going to match better with Sean's personality. We're not offended. We know we're different, and it's a good thing, right? So because different strokes for different folks. So you guys hopefully have kind of looked at their personalities and see who they're going to match better with. And so that's fine. So then you get them in front of either Sean or I, and we're going to bring in the brokerage integration team, and they pretty much just stay in the background and listen, but that's going to be their point person. So we have this whole team of that we're putting in front of them, showing them the value of eXp. We have a financial analysis for them. We're going to break down the numbers, show them what it's going to look like to come over to eXp and what it's going to look like for their agents, and really help them with the transition plan and coming over, because sometimes the pain is too much coming in at the beginning and they can't figure out how to make it work. So we're willing to mastermind and think through that and get them to the next step. And once they feel confident that financially they're going to be okay, and then they know what kind of leadership and the people that they're going to be around, that's supporting them and their goals, and making sure that they stay healthy in their business, and they're going to grow, and they see the vision of it, they're in. Like, it's pretty easy. So the conversion rate is high. Once you guys get them to us, the conversion rate is really high.
You mentioned it earlier, that ego can tend to get in the way. Can you tell me what reasons brokers that actually they go through the beginning phases, they see eXp, they may do a bit of a financial analysis, what would be the reasons most of them hesitate to move ahead?
That they don't necessarily believe the true opportunity, or I don't know. I think that ego can play a part in it. Sometimes, like, I've built this, like, why would I take this over there? This is what I've built, and I don't want to be known as eXp. Like, I want my own business, my own thing. Like, and then other times I think it's just that, we're telling them and we're even showing them, and sometimes it's just so hard for them to grasp that this is actually a reality that is real, depending on what I put into it. So maybe they're smaller thinkers and they can't see it. And I always say, like, not everyone's a fit, and that's okay. Like, they might not be a fit for us. We might not be a fit for them. Like, maybe they just want to, be smaller, and they don't have the goal. I don't know why they wouldn't. But at the same time, sometimes I think they're like, okay, I hear you, but I don't necessarily believe it. Kind of like I was whenever Rich said, Amy, you can do this. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe you. And then that one statement he made, and I'm like, don't you think you're an anomaly? And I think everyone thinks like this is an anomaly. I don't think it's going to happen the way that they say it could happen. And so they want to stay safe and stay where they are. Or another thing is just is mind baffling to me. Sometimes it's just, they're like, this is going to be too hard to switch everything over. Like, it's too hard. And I'm like, really? Like, that's why you would stay. So, I'm like, we've got someone that's going to handhold you every step of the way, but literally the pain of just switching can sometimes make them, not take the leap. And I see that with teams and brokerages. So you guys remember that on your side, like, we've got them, and we can make it fairly painless for them to come over.
It's like divorcing. No one wants to get good at changing brokerages, right?
Yes.
You don't want to get good at finding new spouses. It's just not something we don't do it. So it's that difficulty of, what's it going to be like for me? Am I doing it all alone? So again, I've worked with your team, and I know that you guys do a splendid job in helping groups come over. So thanks for that.
And I'll say that since when I first started here and from where I'm now, like we've really honed in on, what needs to happen. The communication is really great. I won't say there's never any hiccups or bumps because of course, like that's human nature, but we really try to minimize it. And I'm constantly talking to the integration team members to make sure that we're all on the same page. And we just really care about the experience for you guys and for who we're bringing over. So the more in communication we are with the potential sponsor, and the sponsor is setting those expectations, the better the experience is going to be. So that is something that's super important to all of us here, is that they have a great transition over. So yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, no, thank you. Now for a fun one, or at least I think it's a fun one, because I enjoy doing what I'm about to ask you. Suppose you found yourself sitting there, it could be at a park, it could be at a restaurant. All of a sudden you found yourself near a broker owner for some boutique brokerage, whether it be large or small, and you wanted to prospect or contact them for our group at eXp. What would be your initial normally go-to contacting phrase?
So pretty much what I went back to a while ago, I would ask them, I would first seek to understand like where their business was and, have some clarifying questions. I'm always going to build a rapport first, but at some point I want to ask them, have you ever looked at the opportunity of eXp? And I would love to sit down and show you that. And so it's just really them feeling like you care first, and then just asking them to be open to the opportunity. And I don't know if that's what you mean as far as like what statement would I make, like to get them in a sit down. I'm not going to do it right there on the spot. I'm not going to throw up eXp on them, but I want to get them into another appointment, and then we're going to set it up right then, as to when we can really sit down and look at the benefits of how eXp could help their business and help create a succession plan for them, and something that's going to produce generational wealth. Like I would love to sit down and just explore with you if that could be beneficial. Maybe it's not, but would you be open to at least looking at it? That's it, like something simple.
I find the terms "open to look" to be a wonderful phrase. Are you open to look at why so many brokerages have partnered with eXp? Are you open to look why 80,000 agents have joined a company that you can't understand why they've joined? Wouldn't you want to know why they're joining, whether it be competitive value so you can compete against us, or maybe there's something in it for you? I think
maybe their pain is that they keep losing agents. And so then we could show them how, the retention is going to be so much better if they come over to eXp, partner with us, and they have scalable tools, better technology, and more opportunities for those agents that are leaving them, if they're able to bring them over here and really show them the path of growth that eXp can provide for them.
Thank you for that, as always. Discussing a little bit different is team leaders, because they don't have the exact same responsibilities, and they don't get all the benefits that brokers could get. How would this shift if you were talking to team leaders? You do it all the time. Why? Because I hear it all the time. It's easier for me to connect with brokers and get them in discussion than sometimes team leaders. What's the mindset of a team leader, and how could we approach them? Why would they come? What would we say?
Yeah, and I first of all, I want to address like the team leaders being different, because they're very focused on, attraction, and they're usually obviously supported already by a brokerage. And so some of the pain that the broker owners are going to have, they're not necessarily having. But I really think that they're still having some of the same pain though, as far as like retention and agents, once they get their feet wet and they understand real estate, like some of those team members, like they're like, why do I need the team now? Right. So they're gonna jump off the team. And I know for me at Keller Williams, like it became like this very hostile environment, where the team leader and when the team member wanted to leave the team, it was very controversial. And I would have the team member kind of like, I want to leave the team. And, the team leader's like, I don't want them to leave the team. And so there's this, and then what would happen is the team member would leave Keller Williams altogether, or leave the office altogether. And so what if we had something where, if you're bringing on your team, and if they decided to go be you, rather than you saying, oh, I only want you to be but so good, because I need you to stay on the team, and I need you, to support me and my goals and what I need financially. I need you to stay. But what if the thought was, rotate on my team. Let me teach you everything that I know. And then the goal is for you to go in 2 or 3 years and build everything that I've built. And you have like, you have a vested interest in that, right? So it's a different way of looking at things. And so when you think about retaining agents and training them, it's not just for naught, because what if they go jump to another team or they become independent? Like, it behooves you for them to become you or better, right? So it's a different train of thought. And I think it's easier to attract at eXp to the teams because we have all the different team structures. And so a lot of times those agents that are at other brokerages, they don't have the benefits of like the, capping and reduced caps and even quarter caps if they're a mega icon team. And so that is much easier to attract agents to if you can show them the financial benefits in the beginning. And then, you're telling them like, I'm going to teach you everything I know, go build what I did. And so we're attracting over there, you're the sponsor, and then they're going to go build everything. That is the long game, right? Like right now they're in a short game and it's like, okay. And then like, oh, repeat, rinse and repeat. Like, got to do it again. Like that person jumped off. And so with us having higher retention rates, the team structures to really support, and then getting these agents over here, attract them to the model, huge financial rewards for both the team lead and the agents. And it's not that toxicity of them, jumping off the team, leaving the brokerage, because there's a different mindset in that. It's like, let me help you get to wherever you want to be. So,
I've been here 4.5 years, and I come up with the C's that you just talked about. In traditional brokerages, it seems that there's competition and conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And at eXp, there seems that there's a whole lot of collaboration with common goals.
Yes.
It's really interesting when you look at it, because I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it again. It's the concept that people don't understand the way we exist, the way we collaborate, the way we train, unless they are open to trying it out or looking at it. And why don't you speak to this for a moment? It's not one of the questions I told you about, but I often will say, look, I know that you don't know whether eXp is the right decision for you, but come on over here. Come try it. You can always go back to where you were before. Can you talk about that for a moment? Just the concept of making it easy for people to understand as an agent. Look, you're making a career decision, but it doesn't have to be career long. Do you ever get in those situations? How do you talk someone into giving us a try?
I mean, pretty much like what you said, like get plugged in, become a part of, everything that eXp offers, the masterminds, and give it a good little while. Are you saying as a team or as an individual agent?
Either one. I mean,
yeah,
whichever you prefer.
I think if they were to really come over, and I think where it can sometimes go sideways, at least for individual agents, is when they don't plug into all the things. Like there's so much, right? And sometimes it's overwhelming. Even for me, I'm like, I was like, because obviously I have my own little organization, and then I'm like, here, what do you guys need to do this week? And so there's so much. So what's going to move the needle the most, or what's going to help you most in your business? So making sure that when you do get these guys over, I mean, they really are. Some are going to be more, self-sufficient than others, but they really need your guidance and support. And I think once they come over and they see and they plug in to all the eXp is, and it's not just within their own organization that they're getting growth from, right? Like we have, like people are in all kinds of masterminds and calls. I know there's the family tree, and there's a new call. If you guys don't know, it's at 8:30 Eastern to 9 every morning. And it's really about mindset and skill set every morning from Monday to Friday. And I've never heard so many people say how amazing this call is. I'll send it over to Eric so he can send it to you. But that is not benefiting the person who's leading that in the least. And so when you really see like the heart of eXp and us really trying to help the next one, level up, or even, level up one from there, and you feel that, then I think that it's worth a shot to give them like a short term, like, hey, just get over here, get plugged in, see how you like it, but then make sure you're walking with them on that path, and that they're with you, and you're showing them all the different things of eXp, because I think it's overwhelming. And when they decide to not plug into that, I think that's when we're going to risk losing them. But as far as a team, like when I'm looking at teams that I think would be a good fit, I think one thing I'd say to them, I see, that you've created something amazing, and it looks like you're a level 10 talent with a level 2 opportunity. And what if I could match the opportunity with the talent that you have? And can you even imagine like what you could do at that point? And so that seems to be one that really grabs their attention.
Love that. Great. You're level 10 talent and a level 2 opportunity. Awesome.
Right.
We are
There's
gonna
only but so much they can do with that, right? Like as big and as good as they are, like they're never going to maximize their potential because they're not in the right setting. So we want to get them in the right setting so that they can really maximize their full potential.
Well, look, going back to the very first thing you said, you were a big whale living in a little sphere, right? So someone needed to get you an opportunity that matched your ability. We're going to go.
Never thought about that. That was good, Eric.
When you interview me, I'll come out with a whole bunch of those.
I like it.
We got a couple more business questions, but I want to go back personal for a minute, because this is one of my favorite questions. If there is a next career for you, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and we don't ever want to lose you, but if there is a next career for you, what would you like to see yourself doing 10, 15, 20 years down the road?
I mean, I think we all think about that, right? So, oh Lord, we'll say 10. So I haven't thought 20 years out, and I don't really want to right now, but 10 years down the road, my heart is really coaching and training and providing that hope for people, and so that they can see their full potential. And so I really see myself like being more of a coach, and really a life coach. Like I like all the different parts of, mindset, heart set, physical, and business. And so if I could choose, like in 10 years, I would be, still pouring into my people, and helping them live better lives. And so, and as far as like the setting of that, like I'd love to have, like maybe I probably will have a place still here in Waxhaw. I'd really like a team. My husband just got his license. So super exciting. And he's going to have a slow roll into real estate. He's kind of ready to get going, but I'd love to build something with him and for us to really do something together. It's been fun just even thinking about it. We were on a call last night, like with an investor, and really thinking about the direction we could take this, and being able to really, because he didn't really understand like my business and real estate in general, and so it's super scary to him. But now that he's started to plug in a little bit, that is exciting. So I'd like to build something with him. I'm just not sure exactly what that looks like yet, but really if I could be outside, walk my dogs, read on the front porch, and pour into my people, then I'm happy. So that's where I am.
Well, I got a feeling you're goal oriented. You'll figure out a way to do that. So let's bring it down the home stretch. You've worked inside the company now long enough to know that we really do some things better than other brokerages do. What would you say a couple of the things that we do better than most, or better than all?
I think the model in itself is superior, right? And we're going to have copycats on that. But when I first had my interview with Dave, and remember I said the culture was super important for me. And I asked him, how do you make sure that the culture is good, or, the agents are getting what they need. And he said that they had this thing, agent success obsessed. And so every meeting that I'm in is literally trying to figure a way to make this better for the agents. And, obviously profitability is important. And I think that but I think even above profitability, our agents' success and their happiness and their opportunities are bigger than the companies. And that's what eXp wants to the leadership is pouring into the agents and trying to make sure that their experience is best above and beyond like what the corporate, the brokerages. And so I can truly say that because I'm in the meetings and we're like, how can we make this better? What can we do? What can we do to build culture? What can we do to help them make more money? Like everything is always about the agents. And I think that at least for the, I don't want to talk disparagingly about anyone, but at least like where I was, I felt like that shifted and it became more about everyone was a number. And, you know, every time someone, even I became that way focused because everyone that left, you're like, oh, there's a cap that left, you know, and it became more about numbers and less about the humans. And so I really want to, while I'm here, we're going to make sure that we're focused on the human aspect of eXp. And when you do that, you're going to have a winning combination. So the profitability will come as a byproduct of us taking care of our agents. So
when we help humans become superhumans, and that's what we do.
yes.
One thing about our executive group, and you referenced it a couple of times, is they're all goal setters. I've interviewed all of them, or most all of them. It's a big part of why we've grown so steadily and broken the records we have. What types of goals do you have in your specific role at eXp?
So it's funny because I do have a number goal, but my goals are more about you guys. So it's a daily goal of making sure that I'm connecting with you guys. And if you see like Russ Lagan and, you know, Sean and Frank and myself and Dave, like it is really making sure that we're connected with you guys. So I have a goal of talking to a certain amount of agents and every day. It's the 500,000 goal, right? So that's the goal. And then we also have like the 100,000 goal. So there are like numerical goals, but it's not the focus. It's really a daily focus of like, who can I connect with today and make sure that their experience is everything that they thought it was. And so it really breaks, and it's very different than I was before. So I super appreciate that. It's, you know, moving the needle forward and making everyone feel like they're in the right spot and they're working and people care, that we care, because we do. And so there's a daily goal of me talking to at least 5 people a day. As far as like long-term goal, it's going to be the, you know, getting to the 100,000 and the 500,000. And so there's very specific goals around that. And we're realistic, which I love, because you guys all know right now there's a change, there's a shift in the market, there's attrition, and we're going to experience that. But if we're loving on our agents and making sure they have what they need, we're going to see less of that, at least with the ones that are in production. So yeah.
And the bonus question is this. First of all, thank you so much. Taking the time away. You're awesome at what you do. You're awesome in even this environment. We can see why you were tabbed for that position nationally, and we're thankful for it. The single most common thing we hear from the 80,000+ agents that have come is, I wish I would have come sooner. So given that, and since we've talked about broker and broker owners for a little bit here today, what would you say to a broker owner sitting there right now looking at us and just sitting and looking and watching and patiently watching and patiently looking as we continue to grow? What would you say to them today?
I mean, well, it sounds so like it's something you hear all the time, but you know, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. So that sounding, you know, whatever, it is true. And so there's definitely, we are on a trajectory to the 500,000. And so they're really still getting in on the ground floor. And as we know, like the cycle of real estate agents is they're in, they're out. And so the opportunity has never been better. We are established. Like we've proven that we're a great company to be a part of. We have examples of that galore with the agents that are here. So the opportunity has never been better because we're able to validate everything that we said that we were going to be is what we are and more. And so there's never been a better opportunity than right now. And so that's what I would say, like, you know, like, don't keep looking, like, let's jump in, let's dive in and let's go, let's build this together. We want to partner with you and we want to blow this thing out of the water. So.
Well, you said there's going to be copycats, and the truth of the matter is the copycats will always say, we're going to be like eXp. We're going to do what eXp's done. And there's only 2 things we absolutely know at this point in time. Number 1, we did it. and number two, no one else ever has. So
Yeah, we paved the path and we've gone through all the hard work of, all that needed to happen to get us to where we are. We've done it and we're in a great spot, and it's going to take a while for all of them to figure it out. And if they do, we're just going to keep building and getting better along the way. So it's still going to be the best place to be.
well, you hold the fort down. You've done a great job so far. Thanks so much for your time today, Amy, and have a wonderful, wonderful holiday.
Thank you, Eric. Bye, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.